What it do, YouTube? It's your boy, Mike from NYC, you feel me? And today we got an interesting video. So apparently there was an issue with the NCAA. Steph Curry called them out on Twitter saying that they gotta do better. I don't really know the full extent of the situation. Didn't actually watch this video. NCAA called out for women's basketball weight room for March Madness. So I didn't actually see anything, so I'm just gonna be reacting to this and then letting you guys get my thoughts and opinions, and definitely let me know how you feel. Like, yo, Mike, you was out of pocket, feel me? Or, Mike, I actually agree with you on this one, or, actually I don't really have an opinion. I actually don't know. So just let me know how you feel about it, and we gonna get into this one right now. Not now, but right now.
I know that you are in Indianapolis, and so you're seeing what's going on both the men's side and the women's side. And unfortunately, things on the women's side have not been good lately. And on social media, there's been a bit of an uproar over the way the women's weight room is compared to the men's weight room. In case you haven't seen it, there have definitely been videos that have come out about it, and it just shows the very vast difference. There you see it. On the left-hand side is the women's weight room. On the right-hand side is the men's weight room. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see that these two
are not the same.
Are completely different. There's a video that's now been viewed over 10 million times on Twitter, and we're about to show it to you here. Check it out.
I got something to show y'all. So for the NCAA March Madness, the biggest tournament in college basketball for women, this is our weight room. Let me show y'all the men's weight room. Now, when pictures of our weight room got released versus the men's, the NCAA came out with a statement saying that it wasn't money, it was space that was a problem. Let me show y'all something else. Here's our practice court, right? And then here's that weight room. And then here's all this extra space. If you aren't upset about this problem, then you're a part of it.
Okay, so since Oregon Sedona Prince's video has been released, this was the statement from the NCAA that she mentioned. It says, we acknowledge that some of the amenities teams would typically have access to have not been as available inside the controlled environment. In part, this is due to the limited space, and the original plan was to expand the workout area once additional space was available later in the tournament. That was by Lynn Holtzman, VP of NCAA Women's Basketball. She since has said they fell short, and it will be remedied by tomorrow, and one can only hope. So, Harry, we're going to bring you back in for this, and I just want to get your thoughts on it, because quite frankly, I just didn't like that we're passing blame here. I mean, this is very, very obvious that something is wrong and that the women's should have been remedied a long time ago. But nonetheless, since you are there in Indianapolis, I'd like your thoughts.
Honestly, it's just sad. I mean, at this point, there have been amazing strides, especially in recent memory the past few years, where people are trying to make the necessary strides in order to bring women's basketball in particular, to a level where we treat it the same as men's basketball. Mm-hmm. And, the NCAA, I think a lot of us would say that they don't do a whole lot, right? But, I mean, you look at this and it's just flagrant at this point. I mean, it's just sad to see the pictures, then for them to try to say, well, it's an honest mistake, and then you see all the extra space that they actually had. It's honestly disheartening. If you're a sports fan, you should be upset about this. Mm-hmm. And, I know there hasn't been a ton of them, but if you're one of these keyboard warriors who are saying, well, the women don't need all those weights anyways, the women that are using those weights could kick your butt. So, let's
keep it a buck.
Let's make the necessary changes. Everybody's equal. We all love sports, right? So, let's treat everybody fair. Yeah. It's the right thing to do.
This is the game, the big stage. So everyone should be treated equally for that. And you've been around all of the players. Have you heard of or seen any more of an outcry or protest to this issue?
I've just seen, I think the thing that's been very good to see is beyond, both the men's and women's tournaments, and seeing a lot of pro NBA players speaking out. I know, obviously, we all know, Kobe Bryant, before he passed, was a very big advocate for the women's game. And I think that stuck with a lot of guys in the NBA today, and you've seen, they're like, hey, why would you even think to do this, to not give them what they need? Because it's not a luxury, right? If it's something that the men are getting, it's something that the women should get. And so I think that's been one of the better things that have come out of this, is to see that everybody's really, realizing, hey, this is serious. It's not cool, and, we all just want the same things. And I want to, we should all want to see everybody do great, including women.
Yeah, that's true. Harry Lyles, thanks so much for the insight. We appreciate it. Enjoy Indianapolis and enjoy the rest of the tournament.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN.
Okay, let me give the video a like. First and foremost, let me give this video a like. Wow, there's a lot of dislikes on it. 300. So, first thing I want to say is, initially when they were talking about the differences between the workspace, or differences between the workout area spaces, first thing that came to mind was, interesting. And there was a lot of things that went through my head. But I think the worst thing that happened, the worst thing that came from the situation that the NCAA did was claim that there was a lack of space, which is bullshit. Now, I think if you were actually being real and you actually had a real conversation and you were saying, listen, we don't value women's basketball in the same way that we value men's basketball, college or pro, because they aren't bringing in the same revenue. I think that would have been much better because it would have led to a real conversation. I think it's something that is real. But to claim it's because they don't have the space, I think that was a big L. I think that was a big L. I do agree that there is no excuse for that specific situation where they had the lack of space that they did. You know what I mean? That was pretty egregious, I will say. However, I think we are getting to a point where we're towing a weird line. And what I mean by that is, I think we're expecting, how can I say this? We want men and women to be treated equally in terms of outcome, right? But what's really happening is that they're getting treated equally with opportunity. And I feel like if the women's basketball was bringing in the same revenue as the men's basketball, I believe that they would earn equal, if not, more wages in terms of, how much they're getting paid, how much they're valued. And I think it's, we live in that type of world, a business world, right? So let's say I own a restaurant, for example. Me and you own 2 restaurants, right? Mine is marketed better. More people like to eat at my restaurant. My restaurant brings in more money every month. My restaurant is in a better location. My restaurant has been out for longer. You know what I mean? My restaurant has all these different things that it adds value. And then that I feel like it would be like you saying, oh, it's not fair that your restaurant makes more money than mine. It's not fair that your restaurant gets treated differently than mine. It's not fair that your restaurant is on the cover of the magazine. And I think what should happen is we need to find a way to increase the value of women's basketball instead of talking about how unfair it is. If the men have this, the women should have this. I don't agree with that. I feel like whoever's bringing the value, that's who's going to get treated better. And I'm not talking about this specific case. Because I feel like their workout space, regardless of whatever anybody's talking about, it shouldn't look the way that it looked. But I'm just identifying the principle that, just because the men have this, and there was a conversation a while ago, one of the best players in the WNBA, her name is Bird Sue. She makes less than $200,000 a year. Her resume is similar to LeBron. LeBron makes $250,000 a year, right? And it was basically saying, like, women should make, the idea and the concept that I got from the situation was that women should make the same amount of money as men. When that's not possible, especially when you're an employee, you don't get paid for what you're worth. You get paid for what the job is worth, right? And I think it's the people who are standing for this movement, I agree with you, right? And I believe you. Like, in a perfect world, you know what I mean? Like, the women should get everything the men should get. It don't matter who bringing the value. Everything should be equal. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm I understand that, but I think we're taking a wrong angle at it. I think we should be trying to increase the women's value and how it's perceived, and support it more, right? Because when a business is doing bad, you don't say it's unfair that the business is doing bad. You support the business. That's how you make the business do better. You support the business. So I think we need to get in the movement of supporting women's basketball more and not saying that it's unfair. Is it unfair? Like, we could talk about, I mean, if you want to talk about things being unfair, we could talk about things being unfair to you blue in the face. Things being unfair doesn't really matter, right? There's a saying in the black community, you have to do twice as much to get half as much. It's real in today's community. It's not something that we complain about. You acknowledge what's wrong and then you go fix it. So I think that's something that we have to come to terms with. Because if you're not bringing equal value, there's no way you can get equal benefits. There's no way you can get equal outcomes. There's no way. So that's how I feel in the situation. It's just the truth. Women's basketball doesn't bring in the money the same way that men's does. I'm not saying that it should. I'm not saying that it shouldn't. I'm just saying the facts. I'm not saying that men's basketball is better or whatever the case is. It's not anything to do with opinions. I just think if we actually want growth in this specific area, if we want women to get treated in a similar way that men get treated or equal way that men get treated, I think we should look at it in terms of how can we bring up the value, how can we up the value of it, right? Another example, in the early 90s or in the 80s, early 90s, NBA players weren't making the same money that they're making today. And, I don't think it was an idea of, well, how come we aren't making the same as much money as the baseball players and it's not fair? It wasn't the idea of, what's fair. I think what the mindset was, okay, well, let's get this thing moving. Let's get the money, let's get the revenue. And then guys like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird came in, and then soon later Michael Jordan came in and made the NBA what it was. It allowed it to make a lot more money. Therefore, the people in the people that benefit, the players, can make a lot more money as well. Not necessarily, sitting there and saying, well, it's unfair. So that's my opinion on it. I think you guys get what I'm saying. Comment if you agree, disagree. Let me know how you feel on it. And yeah, peace.